just remember there's another mic probably close enough to pick you up.
Right.
No. Yeah,
All right, we're getting started right on time, which is excellent. Good evening, I'm Bonnie Billings. I serve in Midvale City Council District 1, and on behalf of Midvale City, I'd like to welcome everybody to tonight's candidate forum, and also those viewing at home. I know that we have several doing that. We're here this evening to hear directly from the candidates running for Midvale City Mayor and for City Council Districts 4 and 5. And tonight is about listening to each candidate's perspective and vision for our community. Just to kind of go over a few house rules before we get started, each candidate will have 90 seconds for an opening statement, and each question they will also have, they'll be limited to 90-second responses. And each candidate will have the opportunity to answer a question for the first time, so kind of bounce between them. We ask that everyone allow each candidate to answer their questions without interruptions, both from other candidates as well as the audience. Obviously, be kind, respectful to candidates, city staff, the moderator, and each other throughout tonight's forum. And questions for tonight's forum were submitted by the public electronically and compiled with the assistance of city staff to reflect community priorities. There will not be a live question portion tonight. We're grateful to each of the candidates and their willingness to step forward and serve our city, and we want to support them in tonight because I'm sure they're a little nervous. But we do ask that you hold applause till the end of the forum to keep things running smoothly, except for one exception. I'm excited to and grateful to welcome our moderator this evening, Ben Winslow. Ben is an award-winning journalist with Fox 13 News, where he covers government politics and public policy issues across Utah. Over the course of his career, he's become a trusted voice in political reporting, known for fairness, depth, and ability to make complex issues understandable to the public. So it's my pleasure to welcome Ben and to thank him for moderating tonight.
Let's see. Oh, you can hear me. Okay. Thank you all for having me. I appreciate it, and I look forward to a lively discussion here. Just some ground rules. I'm going to dispense with any honorariums. I'm just going to address you by your first and last names, and again, we will go round robin sort of style as you answer, and if I miss you, please flag me, just so that I will try my best to keep track, but just in case. So let's get right into it with opening statements, starting with Brandy Boyer.
Oh, yeah. Hi, I'm Brandy. I'm running for mayor of Midvale because I believe our city should be a place where everyone can thrive. Renters, homeowners, seniors, families, and workers. Midvale already has laid a strong foundation with our housing plan, new parks, community partnerships. That's a momentum I want to keep going. But also, too many of our neighbors are being left behind. Over half of Midvale residents are renters, and yet renters are too often treated like second class. I know this firsthand because I'm a renter. I've paid convenient fees of $40 plus just to pay rent, $6.99 just to report good payment history. So I want to make renters a priority in our city because they do make up more than half of our community. And as a social worker, I've listened to veterans, I've listened to people in crisis, I've helped them navigate tough situations, found community resources, and that's more on a micro level, and I hope to bring that same momentum as a social worker to a macro level here in the community, on a community level, helping our residents find resources that they need to thrive. So that's my vision and goal for working with Midvale. Thank you.
Thank you. David Fair.
Thank you, Ben. I believe in responsible growth and physical responsibility for our city. While the mayor cannot control the pace of growth, I believe we must pay close attention to the details as Midvale continues to expand. Our city faces real challenges, and I would like to have the opportunity to help guide us towards a stronger future. One of the biggest challenges is homelessness here in Midvale. This is not unique to Midvale. We share it with many cities along the Wasatch Front. The current model has room for improvement. Over the years, the homeless shelter in Midvale has shifted its primary role multiple times to meet urgent needs. The homeless shelter in Midvale has urgent needs, and those needs are still very real today. Recently, it was announced that there would be created a homeless services campus in Salt Lake City. It will be built in the northwest of Salt Lake City, providing 1,300 beds. It is, at this point as we move forward, it is essential that all the cities along the Wasatch Front work together to ensure the cost and responsibilities are shared fairly. Traffic is another issue that's beginning to boil up in Midvale. It's my opinion that we need to turn around and take a hard look at our construction techniques, and also a lot of the new construction going in with the transient-oriented developments, and review those processes to make sure that we don't have parking that spills into neighborhoods and surrounding areas, and we need to take care of those. Thank you.
Thank you. Dustin Gettle.
Thank you, Ben, for moderating tonight. Appreciate it. And thank you to our city staff for making sure that our residents can watch and take part in this important conversation. At its core, this election really is about two things: keeping our diverse neighborhoods safe and continuing to position Midvale for long-term success. Over the past few years, we've proven what success looks like. Here in Midvale, just walk down Main Street, you'll see revitalized storefronts, thriving businesses, and a renewed sense of community pride. My vision as mayor over the next 4 years is to carry that same energy into other key corridors like State Street, Fort Union Boulevard, making them also destinations for our residents and also to help strengthen our local economy. Being mayor isn't just about policy, it's also about being responsive and accessible. I've always been accessible to our community, day or night, and I'll continue to be the kind of mayor who you can count on to listen and act when challenges arise. And there will be challenges over the next few years, but what we need now and what most cities need is steady, experienced leadership. I bring not only the proven record of guiding our city through difficult times, but I also have excellent relationships with county officials and other business leaders, elected officials across the valley, and we're gonna need those relationships to get the things that Midvale wants: a new modern library, the recreation center that our community deserves. Ultimately, this campaign is about building on those successes, so thank you so much.
Thank you. Bryant Brown.
Yeah, thank you. First, I'd like to start by thanking Ben for moderating this event, for the city for hosting, and for my wife for being so supportive of me through this adventure. My name is Bryant. I am the current council member for District 4, and I've had the privilege to serve. A little bit about me is I'm an attorney by day, and I think that background helps me in my service to Midvale. But beyond my professional role, I'm a husband and father. My wife grew up in District 4, and we are raising 3 beautiful daughters here. They all attend school in this district. This is not where I live, or where I serve only. It's where I live, it's where my children learn, and it's where my family is growing. This makes me think about my legacy a lot, and what is a legacy? It's planting seeds in a garden you'd never get to see grow. Midvale is the garden, and the seeds are the policies that I'm trying to enact daily. When I first joined council, I had 3 guiding principles: transparency, accountability, and accessibility. Will I say I'm perfect in those? No. Part of that is accepting responsibility and having the small victories when they come. And I plan to continue to do that as I serve for another 4 years. What keeps me motivated is knowing these decisions we make on the council shape the day-to-day lives of families just like mine, families who care about safe streets, good schools, and a strong, welcoming community. I want Midvale to be a city where my daughters and your daughters or sons can grow up and be proud to call this place home. Looking ahead, my commitment is to continue down this path of keeping the government open, making it accountable, ensuring it remains accessible to every resident.
Thank you. Reiner Lilbach.
Well, first of all, thank you, Ben, for moderating tonight, and thanks for all the people, the audience coming here tonight. So for the opening statement, I would like to share 2 stories with you. So the first story is a historical story. Midvale used to be a great city where people wanted to come. It was known as a mining city, smelter city. Everything was refined here. People wanted to come here. There was also agricultural field east of the Monroe Street. There were, industrial area there right next to the Jordan River. So it was thriving city. Even people from Eastern Europe and Southern Europe came here to work. The second story is homelessness, drugs, break-ins, theft, bullying, shootings, violence, crime, cost of living going higher. Sidewalks are not repaired, expensive utilities, taxes are going up, graffitis on the wall, zoning, parking issues, gangs, and so I'm running to bring the change, to respond to the needs of taxpayers, you, better, to the city.
Time. Thank you. Denise Mikalash.
Hi, thank you all for coming out and for hosting. I'm honored to serve as the current City Council representative for District 5, and I'm excited to be running for re-election. Over the last 9 months, I've had the opportunity to gain valuable insights to how the city is managed, also hear the challenges that our residents have had, and also heard about the opportunities that we can take advantage of to continue to shape the future of Midvale. I've worked to address pressing issues, plans for sustainable growth, and ensuring that all of our residents' voices are heard in our decisions. I want to continue to collaborate with everyone in the community, including neighbors, businesses, our partnerships to maintain a strong and smart budget. My platform has remained the same. I want to support economic growth. I also want to champion strategic development in key areas, specifically Midvale Main Street, Jordan Bluffs, and Bingham Junction. In addition to supporting local businesses, enhancing our public safety and our social services, and also committing to a well-being community through expanding our trails and our parks, and also providing housing for all income levels. I believe in transparent and responsive leadership. That means listening to the concerns, but also looking for practical solutions, and also making sure that the city and the residents foster relationship together. Thank you.
Jamie Steverson.
Hi, my name is Jamie Severson, and I'm running for District 5. I'm running because I have a lot of concerns about how the city is currently being managed. I hear up here today a lot of people saying that they're focused on growth, they're focused on the parks, on the trails, but what I'm not hearing about is that they're focused on the people. I've sat there in the audience where you are all sitting right now, and I've listened to this council increase taxes over and over and over again. And I've listened to people come up here and tell these people that although we are increasing these taxes, they do not feel safer. The traffic is not improving. The things in this city just are not going the way that we all know that it should. So while all this sounds great, it sounds like an amazing window dressing, there are issues at the core that are simply not being addressed. And I am running to pull back the veneer to those issues and to actually address what needs to be addressed. Thank you.
Thank you all. Let's get it right into it. The first topic is public safety. So what approaches do you believe are most effective in addressing crime in a community? And we're going to start with David Fair.
First of all, I have a ton of respect for the people who police these areas. I think that they are tasked with a job that's incredibly difficult. I believe that we need to find ways to increase our policing force. I have been around for a long time. Originally, Midvale had their own police force here, and they turned around and grew into the Unified Police Department. I had an experience at my street just the other day with the Unified Police, and I realized that the Unified leverage all of what they have across the valley to be able to support that. My hat's off to them. But I realized that there's a lot of concern and there's a lot of use of the police department on areas that are not as contained as they possibly should be. If there's a better way to enforce laws on these groups and areas that are utilizing a large amount of the police, we need to find a way to do that. Originally, Unified came in and talked about a process of maybe finding ways to raise funds with people who utilize the police a lot more than they should. I still would like to experiment into that and see where that gets us to, so that we could increase our police force and supply more money to be able to fund those things. We have a lot of use there of places that probably need a lot more oversight, and some of them are just difficult to deal with. And I believe that if we support our police, that we'll be able to continue to maintain and reduce crime in the community.
Thank you. Dustin Gettle.
Thank you for the question. So keeping our neighborhoods safe is the #1 priority for any elected official. It should be the #1 priority for anyone running for public office. In my role as mayor, I also serve on the board of directors of the Unified Police Department, so I'm in the room where those decisions are being made. To answer your question specifically, I personally believe in a community-based policing model, and I think that's what we have a good example of here in Midvale. Though we are a member of the larger group, the Unified Police Department, we do have a community-based approach from our police chief and the officers who work in the Midvale precinct, and the job they do every single day is one that I'm very proud of, and one that I can look them in the eyes and say, you guys are doing a great job for our community. Yes, there always can be things done better, but our officers care for this community. A good example, last week we met with residents on Adams Street who were having a very, very difficult time with a house that was being used for things that the house shouldn't be used for, let's just say that. And our police chief was here. We had officers here who really did the best job that they can to assuage the fears of the community, to say that we are doing things about this house. And I'm happy to report over the past few days, those neighbors said that the things that were happening there are no longer happening there. So that's the kind of policing that we need.
Bryant Brown.
Yeah, thank you. So a few things on that. I agree with Dustin Gettle generally that we have a community-based force at the moment, and we have supported the police force as is. I've given them a hard time about some things, and I think that's just a good way to go about business. They've increased their budget by 97% in the last 10 years through your taxes. And in addition, we've continually asked for more data and more information from them, which they give us, right, on a weekly or monthly sort of basis. But it takes a community to fix these sort of issues, right? That requires residents, if you hear or see something, just putting it on Facebook isn't necessarily enough, right? We need to sort of bring a culture of people feeling comfortable talking to the police force if they hear something or see something. We need the residents to feel comfortable that they can do that. And I'm a big advocate for that, right? You see something, say something. That's kind of one of the #1 things. The other thing is we have a lot of crossover with the state, and we need to work with our lobbyists to try to garner more resources, because at this point, working with the homeless shelter that we have, the state should be funding a lot of those resources, right? And so we need to push on that. So I think it's a kind of a trifold effort between the state, the city, and the community.
Thank you. Reiner Lilbach.
Well, I mean, I do understand that public safety is the most expensive area in a city's budget. I also would like to see that there is more trust built in the communities between the police force and the residents. I would also like to see that less police force will be needed in the long run. And it also starts with the first story of my introduction. So as the citizens of Midvale become patriotic about their neighborhoods, feel the sense of community, belonging, unity, acceptance, trust, I think we're in a good shape. And it all starts from the leadership. So I understand the police is doing excellent job, excellent work. They're needed in Midvale, and I support that. But I do also want, community engagement to be helping out with the safety issues in our cities, in our city, that it will thrive again as it used to be.
Thank you. Denise Mikulash.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you to our public service folks. We met with them on participating in a recent police academy for citizens and starting to learn the challenges that they have for running a city. And I also know that a lot of what they want to do is the community outreach. And I agree with Dustin and Bryant that we are community-based outreach, and we need to do, from a city, from a resident, do whatever we can to build that relationship, to improve that communication so that we feel trust. Because at the end of the day, we've talked to several chiefs within, Unified Police Department, and they said it's all about the people. And I think that's so true for the city and for all of us. I think the other thing, talking to residents, is the more that we revitalize Main Street and some of these pockets where we bring life and business and folks are proud to be there, we also see that crime go down. I mean, there were houses on the avenues that were in bad shape, but as we started to clean that up and people started wanting to come down to Main Street, that's kind of gone away because they're proud and they feel a community sense. So for me, it's about building that relationship, understanding the challenges that the police have, but also the community and how we can support that moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Jamie Steverson.
So crime is really a twofold issue. We can look at it one of two ways. We can look at it as a response, which is what the police do, or we can look at it as something that we need to be proactive about. And for far too long, we've been throwing money at our police departments and asking them to do more and more and more and more. They are taking on roles that they were not trained for, that they were not designed for. And not only is that not fair to the police themselves, that's not fair to the communities, because they are not getting the trained responders that they need. Now, I've actually had a conversation with Police Morse, and in talking with her, one thing that she was very passionate about was setting up a co-responder system. And she said that the issues that she's always had with the city council is that would increase the budget. But when we look at other cities that have those co-responder systems, such as Denver, such as Eugene, the cost for these responses, the cost actually goes down. The Cahoots program in Eugene saves the city over $2 million a year. That's money that we could then put back into crime prevention, to funding the third places for our children to go, those after-school programs, the YMCAs, building up the parks, building up the city to a place that everyone can be proud of, and be a place that we all love and we all want to contribute to, the youth, everyone included. Thank you.
Thank you. Brandy Boyer.
Thank you. Not every 911 call needs an armed response. As somebody who's worked on the Utah crisis line, many of those calls are people having mental health crises. Many of those calls are people who are being evicted, don't know what to do, don't have access or knowledge of the community resources. And so helping the community really understand all the resources, not just locally, but that are available in Salt Lake County as well, that also fund Midvale. A lot of those programs overlap. And so helping the community understand what those resources could look like. And again, we could bring social workers along with most calls as one. I've seen the research on how that is far more beneficial, helps with just de-escalation. When I was at the Harvest Days Festival, somebody was asking about the needles that they're finding in our parks. And we need to do more harm reduction type programs, like needle exchange programs, things that will help get the needles off the ground. We have to look at the underlying issues and start there.
Thank you. Staying on the theme of public safety, and a lot of you did address this in some of your comments, and I'd like you to elaborate further. How should Midvale balance law enforcement with community-based solutions? And we're going to start with Dustin Gettle.
It's a great question. I think I did allude to that in my answer, and I think it starts with more programs like the Citizens Academy. A lot of folks don't know that every year UPD has a Citizens Academy where anyone from the public can register and participate. That's a great way to meet your officers, meet the people at the precinct where you live, and also understand policies that they have to follow as police officers. So I like that program a lot, the Citizens Academy. Also, just having more events, as I mentioned, our police chief met with a group of concerned citizens on Adams Street about a very, very problematic house on their street. Having those types of forums, open houses, where people, I am one of those people in the beginning, like, I've never had a strong relationship with police officers because I've never dealt with them other than when they're pulling me over for speeding or running a stop sign. Not that I've ever done that, guys in the back. But we just need to have more relationships that are positive. We need to see and interact with our police officers in ways that aren't just in law enforcement. Our police, UPD does a great job. They show up. They show up at Harvest Days every single year. They show up at our community events, trick-or-treating, Christmas. Shop with the Cop, they do that around Christmas time as well. So the more of those types of programs we have, the better.
Brian Brown.
Yeah, thank you. So I view these sort of differently, public safety versus sort of the needs of the community, but I agree the best way forward in a lot of instances is more, events is a good way to put it, but just transparency, right? Meeting the cops, meeting the city staff, meeting the fire department, all of these are resources for the city, right? And the more you know these people and work with them, the more that you can connect with the two of them. I think some of the best ways is seen in our block parties, right? Where we drive around, we visit, and we, as a city, we need to do better at trying to find other avenues besides just once a year, right? Where we can reach out and connect. That way people know there's other resources. It was mentioned, the police don't need to go to every situation, right? But we need to find ways for the community to know that there is other resources to help with public safety, with just general needs in the community, whether that's, we can just direct people towards private help with food scarcity or something along those lines, or, just host events so people can come here and meet everyone from our city manager to our city recorder to our elected officials. Because I can tell you, everyone on the payroll cares about Midvale, but it's hard to see if we don't have that connection. And that's a little bit on us that we need to improve on.
Thank you. Reiner Lilbach.
Well, community-based and the police co-work, cooperation, coordination. I believe that, yes, the crime and the those negative things, what happen in our society, they all start from home first. And to me, just the police is fighting with the consequences, what happens in our society, in our communities, on our streets. So it's working together. And it would be my dream or my ideal vision if I see the police officers be involved in our communities to providing service to the residents. Simple things as, yes, changing a tire on a road, or yes, showing concern, so that, yes, trust and cooperation and, yes, faith in each other, in our community members as well, would, yes, provide the better results for our existence here in this wonderful town in the middle of everything.
Thank you. Denise Mikolash.
Thank you. I agree with a lot of statements that, the police can't do everything and shouldn't have to, right? I know talking to UPD that they're investing in social workers to go on calls and deal with situations so that they're not sending, those that are not trained for it. So they are investing in that, and that helps as we continue that partnership. The other thing is to build programs to educate the community, as we talked about, the Citizens Police Academy, the education there and understanding the challenges. And then also as a council and a community and a city is investing in programs like the Uplift program that's all about reducing violence with kids at home. And then also we had a program that helped businesses along 7200 South where they felt unsafe, they could reach to us. We would help them find ways to make it more secure for their folks to come in and shop and feel like they can go there and participate. So I think investing in other programs to help mitigate some of it instead of having just to rely on the police to do that. But that's a partnership with us, with the police, but with our neighbors, our neighbor cities and the county, because crime doesn't stop at the border. It kind of trickles over sometime and it rolls down. So it really is a statewide and a countywide problem that we have to work together. And I think building relationships with those groups is what would help us invest in programs like that.
Thank you. Jamie Steverson.
So I believe that the core issue at hand is that society has devolved into an us versus them mentality. When you look back at the police officers who are standing back there, you look at them as something that's other, something that's not like you, something that a lot of us, to be frank, are afraid of. That shouldn't be. I mean, I've talked with many, many police officers who care deeply about this community, and we need to work on building that trust between the community and the police officers. And frankly, the only way that the majority of people that I've spoken to will be able to feel that trust is if there's an increased transparency and a citizen oversight board, so that when there are issues, when people feel that they have been mistreated, they have an outlet that they can go and say, hey, no, this is not okay. And they know that they can go there and their situation will be reviewed fairly. If we do that, once again, it will drive back into the idea of building community, building these community spaces, building a place where they're not others. They're the Barney Fifes of our communities. They're the people that you can laugh with, you can joke with, not someone to be afraid of. Thank you.
Thank you. Brandy Boyer.
Yeah, I think the key word is community. We have to get back to being friends with our neighbors. I know everyone in my building complex, and many of my neighbors are minorities, are undocumented, are so afraid to call police if they need any sort of assistance. And so I end up calling a lot of times for them or pointing them to resources that can be beneficial. But I think really building a strong community, which we have, and leaning on each other more in partnership with our police department, who I've had to call multiple times as a therapist helping people who are in crisis. And I have to say we have some amazing officers in our community that go above and beyond, and I've witnessed them go above and beyond when I worked at the shelter. And so building those relationships is so fundamental in every aspect, community-based and locally, and with our state partners like MCOT, the Mobile Crisis Outreach Team. All these other resources are available to us as well, so that the officers can go to the more pressing calls, and then we can handle the other issues.
Thank you. David Fair.
I think a community-based approach is absolutely necessary as well. I have been out visiting with people, and as I visit with them, a lot of them ask about the old Neighborhood Watch program. I know it's evolved into other places and in other names, but the Neighborhood Watch program is basically neighbors watching after neighbors. It's an effective means to do it. It's come and gone through the city several times, and probably needs a second look into that process. You do need to get to know your neighbors. You need to understand who they are and when they need help. It is a difficult time to sit there and look at your neighbors sometimes and realize what they're going through. And we need to take the opportunity to try and find out those instances so we can help them and prevent them from having catastrophic events in their life. One of the other things is I believe that we need to get officers into the community. It's a tough thing to say. We talk about neighborhood parties, we talk about different things, But having these officers go and be a part of the neighborhood is really important. I would also say that we need to have the officers in the schools. I know they have a presence in the schools. Those are good impacts that they have. I also believe that there's a good opportunity to do youth intervention. I think youth intervention is a great thing to stop things from happening in the future. And I wrote down a little piece that said, take the threateningness out of policing. That is a piece where all of us need to kind of work on that. These officers are great. They're put in tough spots, and they're good people.
All right, this is one that came in from one of your fellow Midvale residents who writes a pretty interesting thing here. Homelessness continues to be a large issue in our community. Midvale City Park has an almost constant presence of homeless, and I've witnessed multiple times in the past month alone, those individuals in the park long after curfew drug and alcohol consumption can often be seen as well. The park no longer feels safe and inviting, especially after dark. So what are your plans to fix this issue? We're going to start with Bryant Brown.
Yeah, thank you. I just would like to start off by saying I'm very aware of this issue. I know it's a concern. It's a concern for a lot of parties, right? It's for the parents taking their kids. It's for the police force trying to manage that. It's for the city fielding the calls. It's for people that are a paycheck away from being homeless and wondering if they're going to have to sleep in the park tomorrow night, right? And it would be really politically easy to say, let's just get more cops and arrest them all, right? But I'm not going to do that. It's something that the state really needs to come to terms with us, and that is they gave us a homeless shelter, and we provide a service for Midvale and Murray and West Jordan and Cottonwood Heights and Sandy, because homeless people, they don't belong to a city, right? We're the neighboring areas, and we do need more resources. And the city has been good to great at trying to get the state to help. And when the state falls short, we try to do what we can, right? But it kind of goes back to the point I made earlier. We need help from the citizens to report things as they see them. I know that stinks. I know people, that's not my job. But if there is someone, actively, taking drugs or something along those lines, or leaving paraphernalia on the ground, we do need to get them out there. And so it's a community effort, and it's hard. And I think it's something that all of the cities are dealing with, and with us having a shelter, we have a little bit more. Yeah.
Thank you. Reiner Lilbach.
Well, I would hope that some of the homeless people, what we have them, yes, not only in the Midvale Park, we have them also around Ruth Van Tyler Library. The reason they're there is because that's the place where they are being fed. That's where they get their meal, Monday to Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. So I hope, and yes, I believe in them, that they will be able to turn their life around and become happy and contributing members of our society, that they will do something about whatever caused their homelessness, drugs or mental issues, that they will take care of that. As far as, yes, what to do with them, we do our own road home, only, yes, facilitates parents with the children, a mom and dad with the children, one parent with the children, but the single homeless people unfortunately cannot go there. So I would, yes, work with the Salt Lake City County, where is another homeless shelter where they can go and turn their lives around any possible way. So it's a internal thing first, yes, I believe so.
Thank you. Denise Mikulash.
Yes, I think one of the hard things, as Bryant mentioned, is that this is not a city problem, but a statewide problem. As you're probably aware, many of the cities pay not to have a homeless shelter within their city, but we took that on, and we're not getting the support we need from those other cities to manage it. I don't think more police in the park is going to help address that, nor is it feasible to maintain that. But working with those community outreach groups and the community outreach group with the police department to understand why they're there, how we can get them the services they need. But that will take a unified coordination throughout the state, not just Midvale City. And that's where we need to do a better job to make those connections with the cities and the state and the county on how we can help support this population, because it is a place where we want to continue to host events and, enjoy being outside. And, if there's a library there one day, we want to be able to utilize that. So making sure that we work with the city and the states and the counties all around us to address this problem is how we need to move forward, but that'll take money and partnership.
Thank you. Jamie Steverson.
Sure. So there is a lot of talk on how to address the homeless issue, but we already have evidence on how to do that. And that's by pushing a housing first model. Now, that's not something that we can do here at the city level, but that is absolutely something that we can champion within the state. Use the resources that we get from the state to put that forward. That model shows that, once again, not only does it have better outcomes, does it lead to people getting long-term jobs, getting long-term housing, much better than shelter systems, but it also shows that it saves the city over $1,000 per person that we can get in there by reduced costs to calls from law enforcement, to visits from ER. So we really need to look at this population not as something that just needs to be dealt with, not as something that needs to be pushed away, but as individual people that need help to get where they need to be in life. The more we other people, the more we view them as other, the less we have that community, and the more all the other issues that we've been talking about tonight compound. So we really need to come together as a community to realize that these are our neighbors, even if they don't live here, and get them the resources that they need.
Thank you. Brandy Boyer.
This is a topic that's really close to my heart as somebody that worked at the Midvale Family Shelter. Homelessness rose 18% in Utah, and this year, with more first-time families and older adults experiencing homelessness. And those aren't, the people that are drug users, and to label them as drug users, that's a coping strategy for deeper, more underlying issues. So we need to look at the cause of what's causing homelessness. And as I was out canvassing in one apartment complex that has roughly 20 buildings, there were 3 eviction notices on average on each of those doors per building. And so most people are one paycheck away, one hospital bill away from becoming homeless. So we need more resources, looking at ways to prevent people from being evicted. We need harm reduction programs, needle exchange programs. There's so much research that shows harm reduction programs help. And we have so many great mental health resources in Utah that need to be used.
Thank you. David Fair.
First of all, I'd really like to appreciate Denise and Jamie down there. Their points were on topic. We need to have the point where the city goes to the state and understand that the state needs to share these funds to be able to support not only the homeless shelter, but the impacts of the homeless shelter in the city. It's a large, substantial amount of money that's shouldered by the citizens of this city that needs to be shared. I also wanted to thank the city for what they've done in the park. The city has realized there's some problems in the park. They've shut down the bathrooms in the park, and they've tried to keep some of the bad things from happening over there. I also made a comment to the city, and I said there's a lot of homeless that are using the power that are on the museum over there. And I asked them if they could turn the power off to that building, at which they did, which was a solution into here. So I would remind everybody who comes into this that they come with solutions to this problem. But it is true, there is drugs going on in there, and there are a lot of other things that are going on there that shouldn't be. We need to look at the hours, make sure we understand the hours, especially in the park. But we also need to come up with some other things like maybe officer patrols or possibly cameras in the park to be able to find these things and root them out before they start being a problem.
Thank you. And Dustin Gettle.
Thank you for the question. So everyone's raised some really good points here. So what I would say, what I would add to this conversation is that we have looked into options of increasing patrols at the park, sending cops in more often, and we've done that, and that has helped with the issue. The one thing we have to remember too is that anyone has the right to be at the city park, as long as they're using it in a manner that would be, usual for someone who's using a park. So we want people to call and say something, but we have to call and say something when there's something that is out of the ordinary for us. That's a way to not have our police going in there unnecessarily. Another thing I want to mention, me as mayor, I sit on 3 different boards that deal with homelessness, and everyone here is right. This is not a Midvale issue alone. This is a state issue, and we need the experience of someone who sits on the Shelter the Homeless Board, who sits on the Shelter Cities Advisory Board. I was on the Winter Overflow Task Force Board this year, and they asked us, will Midvale host a winter overflow shelter this year? And I said, absolutely not. We can't. We don't have the funds or the resources to do so. So we get $2.9 million from the state to mitigate the effects of unsheltered folks in our city, and that's not enough. That barely covers the bills. In fact, we have to spend some of our own money for that. So.
Thank you. Let's move on to growth. So the legislature is requiring cities to plan for growth. So should Midvale accommodate this growth, and if so, how? And we're going to start with Reiner Lilbach.
Well, that's a great question. Thank you, Ben. So what I have seen is, yes, the Midvale city is projecting that their revenue growth 2025, 2026 budget year is declining. And that's, yes, mostly because of the sales tax projections are not so positive. What are the reasons are, it's just whether it's tariffs or it does not matter. So as far as the growth, we do have 3 different projects here going on: Main Street redevelopment, Jordan Bluffs, and Bingham Junction areas. I definitely would support that and continue in that area. So in my district, where I am a candidate, absolutely I will support the new library because the old one, Ruth Van Tuylen Library, is out of date. It's too small and it's kind of old. Also, I will support the new recreation center. The old one, what we have there, Copper View, it's obsolete there. Also, the new one, I support that to be built in the east side of the Midvale, close to Union Park.
Time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Denise Mikalash.
Yes, Midvale City has actually already been planning for growth in the city. We have a master plan that we worked on in 2016 that included input from all of the residents on where and how we tackle that growth. It was revisited in 2019 around our housing and then also around transportation. So this is not new. This is what our planning commission, the city's been working on, is trying to prepare for this growth and think about it very strategically. I think part of that is mixed use, so that we've got walkable communities, but also walkable communities that have businesses that bring in sales tax revenue, that help with creating jobs, which means that we can use that revenue towards some of these services that we've been talking about around public safety, right? And not depend on just property tax. So the growth, I think, is going to happen no matter what, but it's really taking your input and in addition to the experts that we work with and what we've experienced to continue to build out the Jordan Bluffs and revitalize Main Street and other areas that need to be fixed up. So I'm all for it, and I think it's already in the plans.
Thank you. Jamie Steverson.
2019. I want you all to think about 2019, how long ago that feels. How much has changed in our city since 2019? How much has rent increased since 2019? I don't know about you, but I don't think that 6 years, 6 of the most fundamentally changing years of our lives, of our city's lives, is acceptable to go without updating that plan. Now, I live in District 5. I want to represent District 5, and that is one of the fastest growing areas in Midvale. And I've seen firsthand buildings go up. I've seen the increased traffic that comes up from it. And there's very little that goes on to address those issues. We can all agree that traffic is an issue. For those of us that walk everywhere, Midvale is not a walkable city. And these things are not being taken into a plan when we are giving the permits out to these companies to do this growth. The companies that are coming in, the ones that want to build the high-density housing, which, by the way, we need to keep rent affordable, they also need to bear part of the cost to expanding the infrastructure to make that growth possible. It's only by partnering with them that we can have a sustainable growth. Thank you.
Thank you. Brandy Boyer.
Yeah, growth is a good thing and it's inevitable, and we just have to make sure we're prepared to handle that growth and what that looks like. Like many have said, it's not very pedestrian friendly. It's, as somebody that bikes, I don't even feel safe biking in my community. I have to take all kinds of back roads to get where I want to go. And so making it more accessible, and that's part of the plan as we look to build the infrastructure. I've just seen so many of my neighbors who are in wheelchairs who can't get around, trucks back in and block sidewalks, so they have to ride out into the roads. So making sure we're addressing safety from the very lowest level to the highest level, and make sure we're accommodating for traffic, because traffic is a huge problem in Midvale, especially that intersection of 72 and State. It can be done a lot better and made so it doesn't back up as much as it does. But we have to look at all of this when we're developing, and I don't think we're taking a lot of these into consideration with the high density buildings that are going up. People have expressed concerns that there's just not enough parking either.
Thank you. David Fair.
Growth is not going away. It is here to stay. We are continuing to build here in this city, and we will continue to build in some way, shape, or form. I think we need to do this responsibly. I think we need to look at the things that are being built and review those pieces as they come before the City Planning Commission, and make sure that they find a way to be able to have good, thoughtful growth into the city. Having said that, we are now at a struggle to have people who can travel safely in the city, whether it's biking or the struggles that I have as kids walk to school. We are struggling to find ways to make our kids safer in the community, and we need to be able to find ways to protect them as they are traveling back and forth to friends or school or those other things. We need to protect them every way that we can. I do want to compliment the city. They actually turned down a rezoning permit recently on 7th East. It's probably the first time I've really seen that in a while. I believe it was true. They were trying to put some high-density housing on 7th East. There was a building that was constructed there that was a medical office building that burnt down in that area. I'm not sure if that's exactly where it was, but they were trying to make something there out of the land that they had. And the problem is we just have to be sensitive to the area and also the driving ability that's there. We also need to do another good traffic study.
Thank you. Dustin Gettle.
So as far as growth goes, I ran for office 8 years ago because I wanted a crosswalk where I live. I had to dash across Bingham Junction Boulevard to get to the other side of the street. And I started coming to council meetings and saying, hey, we're doing a lot of growth, especially in District 5, but we've left out some of the details, and that's crosswalks if we want to say that we're a walkable city. So I'm not saying that everyone should have to become a council member before crosswalks get put in, but I will say in those 8 years, we have a wonderful community development department here in Midvale who does a great job in working with the developers and making sure that these amenities are not overlooked in future projects. Another thing I'd like to mention is just we need to be smarter about our growth. Councilmember Brown and I, we came in on the council at a time where most residents were fed up with the high density housing that we were putting up in every neighborhood in Midvale. And there is a place for high density housing, but when you put it in the middle of established residential neighborhoods, single family homes, that's where this room will fill up with people who are not happy with that. And we've made some difficult decisions where, as David mentioned, we did turn down the rezoning permit on 7th East because it was not the place to put that type of a building. They wanted, 7 to 10 stories over 1 floor of residential. And we just need to be smarter about those decisions.
And Brian Brown.
Yes, thank you. So if you come to council, I wax along about this topic. One thing we have to sort of understand and get comfortable with is the state puts pressure and requirements on a city that has things like track stops and freeways. And Midvale is geographically small, so we have to comply with that or we will lose our ability to zone. So we have 2 options, comply or we all vote in new state legislators. I will not tell you which one I would prefer at this point. On top of that, there are a lot of things that we can do better. And I'm a big advocate for mixed use. I think we need to have a council that has the guts to hold out on mixed use because developers, they want to do one or the other a lot of times. And an older council gave up on it on the center square and it's hurt my neighborhood. That 5-story should have ground floor retail and they gave up on it. And every time I see it, I'm sad about it. And we need to push it, push the mixed use. The next one is adaptive reuse. That's sort of new to our area. We are piloting it more or less with the honeysuckle that's going in right behind. I think once people see how awesome adaptive reuse is, we'll see a new growth in our community that will not change the character, will not add necessarily a ton of traffic, but will provide a lot of value. And those are things we need to add, short-term and long-term, but I think we're on the right path, but we always need to listen to the community and make decisions based on current and future growth.
Thank you. Let's talk about money. The municipal budget reflects the priorities of the city. So what would you prioritize and what would you deprioritize? We're going to start with Denise Mikolash.
Yes, we just went through the budget process, and as most of you know, one of the things we did prioritize is transparency within the budget, and that is identifying a specific part of the budget that goes towards our public safety. I think that is a huge step in us understanding the priorities and listening to the residents and understanding how they want that money spent. I think deprioritizing, that's a tough one because the budget was so tough. And if you sit up here every week after every week to understand where we're cutting costs, it is almost impossible, right? And what also makes this city run really well is the city staff, right? So cutting city staff is also not an answer because we need them to be successful and how we implement these programs, how we put in policies and ordinance. So I would say continue investment in our public service and our public safety and our social services, but we also need the engagement of the activities that we host from the festivals, harvest days, and things like that to build up the community to want to spend time, spend money here. So I would say, how do we encourage people to spend more time, more money, and we increase that sales revenue tax to help support those funds?
Jamie Steverson.
So, as Denise said, not too long ago, they passed a recent budget. What she did not mention is that budget also increased the salary numbers for all the sitting city council members here. I think that that's a shame because they also increased your property taxes. How they can do that, it is just beyond me. How they can look at themselves in the mirror and say, you deserve to pay more, so I can get paid more? That's not okay. Not only that, but they doubled the property taxes on our businesses. We are at a point where we need to build our revenue. We need to build our sales tax, but we are charging them more to be here. That doesn't make sense. And what's more, that money is going back into the bloated unified PD contracts that we have, that we've already talked about, have much better ways that we can reinvest that money. So although I wouldn't say that I would deprioritize anything, I would say that there's a much, much better way to go about investing the money that we do have that can increase results, scientifically based results, mind you, while saving the city money so that we can do the things that we need to do. Thank you.
Brandy Boyer.
Yeah, I think we need to be smart with our money, especially with taxpayers' money, and make sure we're using it in ways that the community wants and needs, and prioritizing safety. And I think money can go into safety programs, into making our streets more efficient. I think investing in in ways that may cost more upfront, but can help us in the long run, like looking at ways to use AI in traffic. So anything that's going to help our make sure we're stretching our dollars, but also any big developments, helping them or making them pay more into the city, especially, finding creative solutions, I think can all be helpful. But I know they passed the budget recently. I haven't had a chance to really look at it, but I'm open to ideas and suggestions and want to use the money most wisely. So that's all I've got.
Thank you. David Fair.
I certainly would not take any money out of public safety. I also think that we probably need to, in an aging community like this, public utilities are one of the things that we always struggle with. And some of the utilities are taken on by other entities, but there are certain utilities that we have to take care of as a city. We need to make sure that those utilities are there, and we need to kind of go in and look at our infrastructure and the rest of the utilities in the city and make sure that they're as up to date as we can to ensure public safety. I also think that community outreach probably deserves a little bit more money out there as we turn around and have the opportunity to reach out into the community and make for differences in people's lives. It's struggle for me because I didn't do the budget, so I can't sit here and answer to every single line item and tell you where I can take money out of that. But there are probably good opportunities to maybe go and look at some increased revenue for our budget as well. And some of those revenue sources may be increased costs for building permits and all these other things that we see going on here to try and maybe control that building opportunities there and reap the rewards of maybe increasing money into our budget for that. So as an offset cost, I would look at maybe some increased cost to some of the things that we see growing in this city today.
Thank you. Dustin Gettle.
Thank you. The second part of the question, what would I deprioritize? And as has been mentioned, our budget was as fiscally lean as humanly possible. There's nothing, every single department in this city went through every line item and removed everything they possibly could so that the tax increase, which ended up being about $5 a month on the average resident, was as least impactful as possible. And again, as elected officials, we live in Midvale. We pay the same property taxes and we pay the same increase. We don't want to raise our own property taxes either. So I want to get that out there. But the one thing I would prioritize is, just as I've been knocking doors and meeting people, the number one thing I hear from everyone in every district, districts 1 through 5, is that we need a second code enforcement officer in Midvale. And I think that's something I would prioritize in the next budget. We have one code enforcement officer and she does a fantastic job. Despite the job that she has, that's never really having great encounters with folks. She does a great job, but she's one person and it's difficult for her to cover the entire city. And I think those issues that we have in neighborhoods with code enforcement, high weeds or trashed backyards and stuff, those really make an impact on the community in a negative way, and we can do a better job of funding that.
Time. Thank you. Bryant Brown.
Yeah, so the tax issue is an interesting discussion point because your tax report has like 14 taxing entities, right? But it comes from the city, so a huge increase in taxes. I'll admit, my taxes have gone up a ton. Looks like Midvale City. For some transparency, in the last 10 years, this building and our public works, 14% in 10 years. That's how much that's gone up. That's about as fiscally responsible as you can be. That doesn't include the county, police, UFA. They all go up 14, 15%. And so I want to say, I don't really want to answer too much of this question because I want to break character for a second. I sleep great at night knowing that I provided the city staff with a little bit of benefit. There are 8 people here that don't need to be here tonight. And they all are important to me. They're important to the city. Okay. In fact, I might feel a little bad that I was not able to give them more, but they have to pay eggs and gas and everything. They're here after hours, right? This is not a 9 to 5 to them. And they are human beings. And I think that they deserve it and more, okay? That's the most important thing to me, is to take care of the people here. And I will not put up with treating them otherwise. That's all.
Thank you. Reiner Lilbach.
Well, That's a great question. So what I would prioritize the budget. One thing I want to see is, well, everybody probably agrees that when we look into our harvest days, that's where we celebrate our pride and patriotism of being a Midvale citizens, and the participation has gone down from year to year. So that would be one of my priorities where I want to put more into in the future, definitely to arise the community again as it used to be. I would not also cut the police budget. I would look into, city employees. They need a competitive pay in order to remain in the city here. So, and I also have met a lot of voters, taxpayers, who are very angry that their property taxes have gone up from year to year. So it is a big issue. So, and there are single older people who just cannot afford this tax increase every single year. So I would put the people first, and possibly maybe cut the animal services.
Time. Thank you. Midvale relies heavily on sales tax, which is a volatile tax. So do you believe Midvale should try to rebalance with more stable property tax revenues? And we're going to start with Jamie Steverson on this question.
I do not believe that we need to increase property tax revenues. Property tax revenues have been going up year over year. The people that we have in this city that are on fixed incomes, they cannot afford that. And we need to look at, instead, how can we grow? How can we grow our sales tax base? That is a very volatile tax base, but it is crucial for the growth of our city. Now, when we look at that, and we look at increasing the property tax rates, I believe it was 200% for properties, or for commercial properties here. How can we ask them to continue to come here, to build our sales tax revenues, to say that Midvale is a place that I want to sell, if we aren't willing to cut them a break, if we aren't willing to say, no, we aren't going to continue these increases. Beyond that, we need to make Midvale a place that people want to come and shop. I don't know about you, but there aren't many shoppable areas besides Fort Union that really draw a lot of people. And that's a shame, because we have a beautiful city with a beautiful main street, with beautiful areas that could really thrive if we just invested in that and made Midvale the destination in Salt Lake County. Thank you.
Thank you. Brandy Boyer.
Midvale relies heavily on sales tax and fees. Property taxes are relatively low compared to our neighboring cities. But I don't feel like we need to increase sales tax or property tax because, again, we're seeing an increase in homelessness with our older adults, and they're already, figuring out if they can pay their mortgage or medication or even get some food. And so trying to keep those costs low and maybe putting those costs back on new development, assessing more taxes and fees from them if they want to do business in the city. But I don't think we need to put that on the residents.
Thank you. David Fair.
Property taxes and business taxes are just a very unique thing in my mind. For 20 years ago, I walked into the city council and I asked them what was going on with all the businesses that were being developed here. I said, did you want Midvale to be a bedroom community or a business community? And at that point in time, the city council said, we want this to be a business community. It's since grown and gone down that road, and you can't paddle this boat upstream. When the Sharon Mill tailings got developed, it was always an interesting pattern to sit there and wonder what they were going to do with the capped area that they went ahead and developed. But part of the insight that they had when they did that as a Superfund site is they basically gave a get-out-of-jail-free card for taxes for quite a while to a lot of the original developers that are over there. we need to make sure that as we're developing at this point in time, that there are no more get-out-of-jail-frees at this point in time. I also would like to say that we're probably at the breaking point of business development and property development for housing, that we need to kind of see if we can maintain what it is that we have right now and find a way to live within our means. We talk about the amount of rentals that are here. There's probably some taxes that need to be assessed on rental properties in Midvale that need to be looked at to see if that's an additional way to be able to reward the people who live here for all the rentals that are here.
Thank you. Dustin Gettle.
Thank you. I want to note that our property taxes, as Brandy mentioned, are actually among the lowest in the county here in Midvale. And I bought my house in February, and in May I got my first tax bill. So I understand, the pain that, and we don't want that as elected officials. We don't want that on you, and we don't want that on ourselves. So we do our best to keep property taxes low. And the best way to stabilize that mixture between sales tax and property tax, as a few have mentioned, is to attract new businesses to Midvale. We do have areas in Fort Union that are already zoned for business. There was a check cashing company that is no longer there on Fort Union Boulevard. That can be redeveloped into something that's actually, people are actually going in and spending money. We also need our residents, I say this all the time, half jokingly, like, make your purchases at home, have them delivered to your home. If you work somewhere outside of Midvale, that tax revenue goes to that city where you made the purchase. So buy local and stay local. I will mention, we are doing this like on Main Street. These are revitalized businesses on Main Street that were not generating much tax revenue at all for the city. And now we have Cactus and Tropicals, which is a huge name in this valley. They would not put a business on Main Street if they did not think that Main Street was going to be successful.
Thank you. Bryant Brown.
Yeah, I'm not interested in doing some kind of rebalance. I understand that that's always a challenge that we'll have to sort of negotiate through time. But in the short term and long term, there are things that we can do as residents. There's things that we can do as the city to sort of improve. The biggest thing is to try to buy local. I know that sounds sort of trendy, but the way I sort of operate is I don't look at Midvale as this horrible place to be, right? I'm not going to get up here and name 50 terrible things. Everywhere I go, I cheerlead Midvale. I think it's the greatest place in the world. And so I want to shop here. I want to eat here. The Bambinos is a great example. We had the food trucks today. I came early to this. I left my day job early, came early so I could go and support the food trucks, right? Those are the things that we need to do as residents because it's going to come one way or the other, right? If we don't support our city, both through our words to bring people from the outside, and if we don't also support it internally, it gets hard to maintain a budget, right? So we can talk about how we bring in business or whatnot. It really comes down to how we project it and what do we want to do. And I think we're doing a good job, right? The RDA is an issue. I didn't vote on that. Dustin didn't vote on that. Denise did. None of us did. And we are excited to see when that doesn't exist anymore, right? And what that does for the city budget.
Thank you. Reiner Lilbach.
Hey, well, I want to be it's definitely fiscally responsible council member. So, as far as the property taxes, if they are being increased 18 years straight, as some of the residents have told me, then, there is something where we need to look into to discontinue that. As far as the sales tax, I'm all for it. In order to generate sales tax, we just, like it was mentioned, purchase locally here in Midvale, also invite and recruit and attract more businesses to come to the Midvale, but that is the key here, because if the businesses come, most likely the residents will come as well, because I want to work close to where I live, right? And vice versa too. So, and we do have already Salt Lake County government coming to Overstock.com building, so that will be pretty good. I will foresee that as a good sales revenue boost to the city, and I would like to continue with any kind of organization coming and getting our sales tax up so that we can do
Thank you.
great things.
Denise Mikalash.
Yes, so I would agree. We actually need both, right? I think how we balance that out depends on us. I think part of the goal for us is to bring more businesses into the city so that we can get that sales tax and that property tax. Businesses like the Zions Corp, CHG, converting Overstock to Salt Lake County. I mean, right now I have a friend who worked at CHG, brought all of her employees around the US and they're having dinner at Bambino's, right? Because it's right next to it. I mean, that's the kind of engagement we need. The other thing is I volunteered at the Mural Festival. 8 out of 10 people I talked to did not live in Midvale, which means the more people that we can bring into our city for events, reasons to dine, reasons to shop, that only helps us, again, to build that revenue, right? So I think it's important for us to invest in these areas that make people want to come here, want to have a business here, and also want to shop here so that we can help support those funds instead of having to increase our property taxes. So, thank you.
Thank you all. So how should Midvale address rising housing costs and housing density? What policies or programs would you support to improve housing affordability for residents? We're going to start with Brandy Boyer.
With that, the housing costs are rising. There's so many unnecessary fees that landlords are putting on residents. I listed a few from just paying your rent, up to $40 just to make your rent payment. There's fees to just report good payment history. All of this money that is being spent on a lot of these unnecessary fees could be spent better for the members of the community. And so looking at ways to reduce that, is getting these individuals to stay in the community, not get kicked out every year after year as rent goes up and all these new random fees get added on. It just keeps people moving out and finding cheaper, more affordable places. And so that's one way to address the housing costs is being more transparent with the fees and the landlord developers in this community. Making those fees transparent, maybe giving them more, discounts, things like that, if they help the renters in the community, rather than continually nickeling and diming them, because we're pricing people out.
Thank you. David Fair.
I'm going to snicker a little bit. I had somebody ask me, could I do something about the economy? I can't do anything about the economy. As the mayor, you're here to try and do what you can, but affordable housing is a bigger issue than kind of Midvale City. Affordable housing is something that there's so much going on with it that's happening from the state level and from other people. We have a lot of housing in Midvale that I would consider to be affordable housing that we're trying to get more. You have to work with the developers to be able to do that, and at what point do you turn around and say, we can't necessarily support much more of this. There is an issue with people looking for housing, people that are struggling. I mean, how do you have people who make minimum wage be able to afford a apartment or some other home or something like that? It's incredibly difficult. And my heart goes out to them because I grew up in a different era. But these people that are truly struggling, there are places out there that will help them. There's churches that are out there. There's other support groups that are part of the community. These community outreach programs that hopefully the city can support will be able to kind of help these people find these and be able to kind of make a better life.
Thank you. Dustin Gettle.
Thanks. So 2 parts to your question. First, to deal with housing, we need a variety of housing options. We need apartments, we need starter homes, we need condos for sale, we need townhomes for sale, and we need in areas where it's supported higher density housing that will drive down the cost of housing and also provide new home ownership opportunities for folks who need it. As far as the programs go, I want to mention two. Midvale City has a down payment assistance program for low income folks. And one of my proudest moments as mayor, we also have a home improvement assistance for low income folks. And there was a woman, and she has told me I can share this story, who lives on $900 a month and her sewer line was completely busted. Her options: sell the house as is, probably take a huge loss on that house and then move where, or fix the sewer line, which she had no money to do. As she was telling me this, the light bulb is going off in my head. I know about this home improvement assistance program. I get her the paperwork, she does the rest. She got approved for the loan, they fixed her sewer. So she is in her house because of one of these programs. And Brian's normally the one who gets emotional. That one always makes me emotional because she had no other options in her life but to either sell her house at a loss or stay. And I'm so proud that we were able to help her stay.
Brian Brown.
Okay, thank you. Today is the first day I've ever been emotional up here. I don't know what Dustin's saying.
Every time.
Every time. Every time is the first time. So a few things about this. Midvale doesn't have any available land, right, to build some, 200-300 unit single-family home, right? So we can all come up and sort of say the things that we need to say. I think we need creative solutions, and I think this is where I add a lot of value. I think one of the number one things we can do, and I've been pushing it, and the city staff has been great at accommodating it, is we need to improve our code for redevelopment. And what that means is, hey, ADUs are a state requirement, right? Like, how do we make the code so people can put an ADU in their backyard to have their mother-in-law live back there, or something along those lines, where it is in code, but it's also easy to do, right? Sometimes we can make code very hard. Right? How do we make programs accelerate quicker through? How do we get developers quicker through if they meet our guidance? We need to work on those things so it can be done quicker and things can become online quicker. And I think the other thing we need to do better as a city is we need to highlight the resources more. Right? The city has resources, the state has resources, the feds have resources. We need to have a campaign that's just nonstop so people know there's something here, and hopefully it draws people here. And that's, what I think.
Thank you. Reiner Lilbach.
Hey, thank you. So as far as affordable housing, as it was said, it's economy, right? It's law of demand and law of supply, right? If the housing is not provided to the market, we know what the prices will do, right? If it's provided to the market, then yes, the price goes up. So. But I am absolutely in support of the two programs what current mayor mentioned. Yes, providing $30,000 down payment for the first-time home buyers. Absolutely, yes. As far as just providing $5,000 to do home repairs, absolutely yes. And even more of those things to attract. So as far as now affordable housing, I know that yes. If you rent in Midvale, it's probably you're paying about maybe 10% less rent as you do on East Side. So, and I know a lot of residents who have started in Midvale as a renters first, and then saved on their down payment, and then purchased their first home here in Midvale as well. So, I would continue and come up with more solutions in the same line as $30,000 down payment help and $5,000 repair help for the first-time home buyers.
Thank you. Denise Mikulash.
I would agree with David, this is a national problem, right? A national crisis. It's not something that we as a city are going to solve on our own. I go back to it's your legislators up at the state that we've got to work with to make sure that they support this cause. But what we can do is what the mayor's talked about, is what Bryant has talked about, is we got to bring programs to our community that they can use to get assistance. And right now we have 4 solid programs for homeowners to help them cover those costs. And we do need to communicate that more and get it out there and bring more of those programs to help them. We also need variety, right? Not everyone wants to be a homeowner. Some people really want to be renters. When I'm knocking on doors, I'm asking them, and they're like, I don't mind renting because I don't have to worry about it, right? So that variety helps feed the different types of incomes, different kinds of ways that people want to live. But I've also talked to a lot of people who are like, I'm a renter because I can't get into a home. How do we build programs to get them from renting to ownership if they want to stay in Midvale? Because most people do. So I think looking at how we work on our master plan, our housing plan, it needs to be refreshed. It's been 10 years and another 5 years since we've even touched it to understand the diversity that we do need and how we can provide programs to support that.
Thank you. Jamie Steverson.
Affordable housing is a really tricky issue because, as everyone else said, it's not just a Midvale issue. It's not just a state issue. It's a national issue. Our secret's out. Utah is a great place to live. I mean, living in Midvale, you are close to so many amazing things. So that's naturally going to want people to come here, and that's a good thing. The problem is that we have not enough space. We have people who are buying houses to simply rent out as Airbnbs. We have predatory tactics, like Bonnie said, from our renters, from the big apartment complexes. We have unnecessary fees. We have barriers here that make it to where it's just, it's hard to exist at times. And then on top of that, we keep pulling more and more on the people who live here and expect more and more from them while not getting the additional services that we need. Thank you.
Thank you. If ICE does come to Midvale, how do you intend to work with or oppose them? That's a question from one of your fellow Midvale residents. We're going to start with David Fair.
Boy.
Good luck, David.
You know, I think policing in any way, shape, or form is good in a city. I believe that they have responsibilities that they have to adhere to. And as we sit here as a city, as different enforcing agencies come into the city police need to work with these to make sure that they're doing what it is that they're supposed to be doing. I believe there's 4 ICE enforcement officers in the state right now. I had this discussion with another police officer the other day, which makes that they're very kind of thin in the area. But if they come in and they are properly licensed and doing what it is that we need to have them do in the state, I would turn around and say that this is something that we should continue to allow to happen in the community. But I know that it's very difficult for the community to embrace this because it is a tactic that's not there. I think ICE has a reputation that probably leaves something to be desired in a lot of ways. But I also believe that there are some abilities to kind of look at that in a way that we can use that to grow on and find the proper way to do enforcement in this city. I would like to say that all police officers would help in those environments that are going on. It is something that we need to support them all and find a way that they can answer to us as well.
Dustin Gettle.
People need to feel safe in their own homes, and I'm going to start with that on this answer. ICE has been in Utah. They have removed folks from their homes in Utah. That's heartbreaking to me as a person and as a mayor. I've had people reach out to me to ask me, as mayor, what are you going to do for me if someone comes and picks me up from work and tells me I have to leave my family? Those are heartbreaking text messages and emails to get. The answer to your question on this is Unified Police Department does not help ICE with their enforcement. That is an entirely federal government operation. However, if ICE were at any sort of operation and needed police assistance, our unified police officers would assist them as they would any resident. And we actually saw that happen in Mill Creek earlier this year when the ICE agents said that there was a issue that turned out not to be an issue. So my advice is to the community, look out for each other. Be kind to each other, and if you see someone being ripped from their family, please reach out to Unified Police. Please reach out to me. I've given my number to people to say, if you have this happen, call me, text me, I'll be there.
Bryant Brown.
Yeah, so I have a couple stories to tell. I've knocked on about 1,200 doors already. And if I knock into a door with a minority family, they a lot of times have their kids screen me, right? They wonder who I am and ask me a lot of questions. And the parents will finally come out to talk to me once they realize I'm not ICE, okay? And some are third and fourth generation Midvale residents, US citizens for generations. Our schools are down hundreds of kids because minority families aren't sending their kids to school right now, right? And that impacts everyone. These schools have to lose 7 or 8 or 10 teachers when that happens. You know, people are losing their job, right? These are the reality of today, right? And I'm not going to give a fluffy answer about police or whatnot. Our police force, our citizens need to trust our police force, right? So there is not a crossover need ever, right? If ICE operates, they're a federally program. If they're here and they operate, that's what they do, right? But I am not ever going to be okay trying to create more work for our officers already, right? And I would guess that they would support that. They want people to be able to call them and trust them and not think they're partnering for a bigger issue, right? So this is a big topic. I'm very passionate about it. At the same time, they are a federally approved program, and if they operate under their own, that's what they do, right? And as far as the city resources, though, that is not our place, and I would not support that.
Thank you. Reiner Lilbach.
Well, this is a great question, and it's home here. I am an immigrant to this country. I am naturalized United States citizen. So as a council member, if I'm going to be elected, my job, my responsibility would be to foster sense of belonging, sense of community, sense of unity, acceptance, compassion, all of those, yes, things which rather than build the community rather than destroys it. So we do have lots of minority people in our community. I have met with the families in Armenia, Iraq, Iran, Syria, Jordan, all those hot spots. They're adding value to our communities. And my job is to support and encourage belonging and sense of community and strength. If ICE would come to Midvale City, I would not be interested of be part of Midvale City Council. Thank you.
Thank you. Denise Mikulash.
I think you guys should be proud of the council here, the city, and Unified Police Department. We had this discussion, I believe it was in February when this first happened, of how we would address this. And the number one priority was safety. And it was making sure that all residents, regardless of their status, were feeling safe and still feel like they could go to the police for anything they need. And I think that's the stance there, right? As Ryan said, is a federal, they've been given permission to do that. But staying focused on what our department is supposed to do is supposed to make us feel safe, make sure that they can come to us with any issues, and continue to announce that, communicate that, and build that through community outreach, because that is the priority, right? And we want everyone to feel safe here. I know a business owner who's had a restaurant here for over, I think, 30 years. He is no longer leaving his house. His daughter is now running it because of his fear. Like, how sad is that, to build a future here to help support the economy, and now you can no longer do what you've always done. So in my mind, I think we made a very smart decision on how we wanted to approach this, and I think we'll continue doing that and making sure everyone feels safe. Thank you.
Jamie Steverson.
So I look out into the audience here and I see two different things. I see people who are probably naturally afraid of ICE for obvious reasons, but I also see a lot of people here who, like myself, are older than ICE. I remember a time when ICE didn't exist and we still were able to address all the issues that we have today. So if ICE were to come into our city here, I would be in favor of doing multiple things. One, codifying any cooperation with them to be illegal. I would also want to codify the fact that they cannot wear face masks here, because we deserve to know who it is that is operating within our city and our jurisdictions. Finally, I would be out there on the front lines filming them to make sure that they are upholding our citizens' rights, they are not abusing anyone, and that they are respecting what Midvale stands for. Thank you.
Thank you. Brandy Boyer.
If I were to come here, which they have, and I've alerted my neighbors if I've seen them on community boards, also texted them because I've had several neighbors who I've got to know and have since had to move out of the country since this all happened. And it broke my heart because these are people that invite me over to have home-cooked meals because I don't cook. And so sharing a meal with them and then no longer having them as my neighbors. Well, I can't do anything if they do come here because it's federal. I'm not going to do much to help them. I am going to alert my neighbors if I see them. I'm going to do every possible effort to educate my neighbors that are scared, community members that are scared of their rights, what that looks like, who they can reach out to, make sure we have that translated in their native languages so that they better understand all of that, and have more outreach so that they don't feel afraid to leave their house, that they can call me if they need somebody to walk down the street with them. But I have no intention of going above and beyond to help them in any way, shape, or form. They can do whatever they need to on their own.
We've got a lot of great questions from a lot of Midvale residents, and we have a little bit of time left, so I'm going to try to get through as many as I can. This one also comes from a fellow resident who says, cities surrounding Midvale have more robust activities for their citizens, including weekly concerts, farmers markets, free movies in the park, monthly art seminars, and larger annual events. What do you think is the issue, and how would you work to fix it? We're going to start with Dustin Gettle.
Great question, and I probably know who that came from, but I agree. I think that we need to have more recreational activities for our folks here in Midvale. Outdoor concerts, that's great. We reformed a community council this year, and that was, as I stood there as a candidate for the mayoral replacement process, that was goal number one for me, is to reform our community council. And that community council has already started a Monday movie night at the Pearl. So we are getting things like that back up and running. They've reformed a beautification committee that will get out there and maybe have people take pride in their yards again and just get people out and about. But I'm an outdoor recreation person. I'm out on the Jordan River Trail twice a day if I can. And I want to create those opportunities on the east side of Midvale as well. It's very difficult on the east side because, that part of Midvale was not Midvale for a long time. And we didn't necessarily have a hand in all of the planning of the east side of Midvale. Now we do. And I think we need to bring more outdoor recreational activities to the east side of Midvale and use our existing park. We have Union Park, which is a county-run facility, but we could work with the county to offer more programming there. I want to show the sandlot at the baseball fields at Union Park. I think that would be an amazing event.
Thank you. Bryant Brown.
Yeah, thank you. So a few things. I would push back on that person a little bit on our events. It's hard to compare Midvale to Sandy. Sandy is geographically 4 or 5 times bigger and population-wise as well, so it will have the opportunity, right? But as far as our size, I serve on the Arts Council for Midvale, and we provide a lot of services that people don't attend, right? So part of it's a little bit of supply and demand. So the people that make those, hopefully they recognize that there are a lot of opportunities out there, right? And I would say every single year in the 8 years I've been on council, Main Street has added an event. And that means 8 or 9 or 10 events that weren't here 8 years ago, right? We do need to bring that to the east side, right? And some of them are super cool. I need to be better at it. There was a metal rock event here, and I knew about it the day of. I would have gone to that. So I'm blaming myself for this. I need to find a way to know these things so I can also attend, right? Another great way is the Arts Council especially is always looking for volunteers, always looking for new ideas. A constituent reached out to me about, I'm going to butcher it, living, or Spencer, what does your kid do? Audio. Podcast? Yeah, what is it called? Storytelling, live storytelling. Never even heard of it, right? So if we can find more things like that, bring them to Midvale, because I don't know if a lot of people did. We could be the first for a lot of things, like our font, our letterfest, which I rolled my eyes in the back of my head. It's one of the most successful things we've done, right?
Time.
So, thanks.
Reiner Lilbach.
Well, I mean, I looked it up. Midvale has had quite a rich historical past. So it will again comes back to my opening statement. There has been scenes from The Stand, the titles of the movies, Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers, Gentleman Brancos, The Sandlot. So that's a rich cultural history. So how can we bring it back? How can we provide that? I have talked to the voters, and they just, somebody mentioned, yes, it used to be, and I have seen that too, it used to be a baseball field here, right here. It's before, so, and wants to hold the current city council accountable that, hey, you gave a promise before that the baseball stadium will be built somewhere, a baseball field will be built somewhere else, and it's not done. So, again, yes, it's, I would say, sense of community, patriotism, and pride in Midvale that, yes, will bring those people in the concerts. And Harvest Days, I noticed again there was decrease of the people on Friday night there. Year before there were more people, so I'm also a member of the Midvale Community Council, so Peril and Pride was great.
Denise Michelage.
Hi. Yes, I agree. Like a lot of our other cities around us have much bigger populations and places to do this, but I'm also very proud of what Midvale has done. I think we have an event almost every month, if you were to go look at our engagement calendar online, in addition to what the businesses are doing. So Bambinos has music, we're bringing in festivals, as they talked about the Hard Rock, there was the car show, utilizing that space on Main Street to have more of those festivals. The other thing that I think is great about the redevelopment fund is a lot of the businesses that are coming in, we're asking them to support the culture and activities within the city. So Saltfire Brewing, that will be coming in January, yay! We're asking them to host a quarterly arts show where they bring people in to check out art and be part of the community, right? Same thing with the house down the way that we're doing that we'll bring in the Honeysuckle. They're gonna have an open area for concerts. So I think we're building that into our culture as we redevelop and as we build out these areas that we're asking the community to be part of it through what we're doing with our business agreements and what we're doing with other associations. So we wanna keep that up, but it also takes volunteers. So make sure if you wanna get engaged and be part of it, there's a great way and it's by volunteering. So thank you.
Thank you. Jamie Steverson.
So I would like to agree and push back about Midvale not having that many activities and events, because we actually have quite a few, but a lot of the problem is that people just don't know about it. Attendance is down nearly across the board for a lot of these events, and it's just because we don't have a way of reaching out. The Midvale is segmented, east versus west, and when you're looking at it, it's hard to get the information out to everyone as a whole, to let them know that this is part of our community, this is what we're doing. We have Harvest Days, but I rarely see any advertisements out and about for it, at least on the paths that I go. So letting people know what we have here is first and foremost one of the most crucial things we have. Beyond that, we have a rich group of artists here, a rich group of musicians, of people who are just dying to get their art out, dying to show people what they can do. And we need to partner more with them to create more exhibits, to create more local concerts, to get people here to see that Midvale really is the place to go. And it's going to turn into the next art powerhouse. Thank you.
Thank you. Brandy Boyer.
Yeah, we have so many great events. The Metal Fest, Grill Fest was amazing. Sad you missed it.
Upset you.
But we do have a lot of really good events. And the Harvest Days Festival, I had the chance to meet so many amazing members of our community. And we can do so much to bring more to that, because I am guilty. I go to Murray for farmers market. I go to other cities for concerts, but we have that here too, and we just need to do a better job of advertising it and letting our community know that it's here. Because like Brian said, he didn't know until the day of, and there's been a lot of those events that I didn't know of until the day of, and it's kind of hard to rearrange your schedule when you just find out the day of. But finding other things that we can bring to the city, I have a vision of bringing a repair cafe with so many renters, not space to fix things, bringing a repair cafe where older community members can get together with younger community members and teach them how to fix things to help with sustainability and recycling. So there are other things that we can do because that doesn't exist anywhere in the state. So rather than copying other cities, we can do more to make it more uniquely Utah.
Thank you. David Fair.
I think there's a true need to build a sense of community. I think one of the best things that we're doing is we're pursuing a rec center that would supply a different area for people to come together on the east side. I do believe there's an east side, west side disconnect, and I don't know the answer on how to fix that. I don't know if anybody does, but there's a good opportunity to kind of develop a sense of community going up that direction. I walked around the Salt Lake County Park that's up on the 7th east side of Midvale, looking at that area and wondering what we could do to partner with Salt Lake County to be able to do farmers markets or get-togethers or barbecues or any of those kind of things up there, just so that we can feel a little bit closer. Our current park is well utilized right now. It has football going on in it, disc golf going.
Tell us about it.
My favorite, disc golf. I'm not against disc golf, but just have certain aspects that are problems. There's music that's going on there. They did a car show the other day, and I appreciate all these things. And Harvest Days comes in there and does and was well attended this year, so I was pretty happy with that. And the fireworks were plenty loud enough this year, so there you go. But, we need to find a way to be a better community together. And again, we keep coming back to that. It helps in policing, it helps in a sense of community, it helps in supporting those around us, and we just need to remember that every day.
So let me follow up with something here. What would you change about how the city reaches out to its residents? And we're going to start with Bryant Brown on this one.
Yeah, I think, social media is the now and the future, right? And we need to just improve generally, right? Get traction through various means to get that way. Try to get our council members involved on social media as well, right? Them engaging and showing the community what matters. Trying to get our partners to sort of advertise, right? Like the brewery that's coming in, right? If they're going to be doing that quarterly, we need to make sure that they have the tools to market that and advertise that, right? I think that is a huge thing. I will tell you, I am shocked at how many people still read the Midvale Journal. I get calls all the time on decisions I make. And I better read the Midvale Journal today because I got 6 calls. Maybe we can do better on our print form and also in our utility billing, right? Because I also get a lot of calls when people get their bill in the mail. We can support those and reach out. I do think we need to sort of embrace social media. There's probably ways to do it better, different than what we're doing. Laura's great, so it's not that, but can we find new ways to do it? And that's not my forte, and I'm happy to defer to support that as much as possible.
Reiner Lilbach.
Well, I support all the means of communication, social media, newspapers, you name it. But again, yes, it comes down to civic engagement. So I can still see that, yes, there is activity, but if I don't care about Midvale, if I am a disgruntled resident of Midvale, I don't want to do anything with the city of Midvale, right? And unfortunately, that has happened when I have, gone through and canvassed in my district. So I would then, take the responsibility here to be more responsive government to all the citizens, no matter who they are, and provide the service to them. They are the taxpayers who support the city, and if their needs are met, and I know it's hard to meet everybody's needs. It's hard to be everything to everybody, right? But compromise needs to be there too. The people will come And they do want to, yes, participate in our civic activities and be engaged in our community and Harvest Days parade and activities. The attendance will go up and they will celebrate with the fireworks and don't ever want to leave Midvale and invite even more people.
Thank you. Denise Mikulash.
I agree with everyone here that we need to do a better job of informing our residents of all the great activities and festivals and everything we have. I think social media is probably only one way because we tend to get a lot of social media and things get lost there. I think a lot of that is through our neighborhood and our community council who's helping us to, connect within our neighborhoods, talk about what's going on, encourage that. The other thing I wanted to propose is I think there's the things that are fun to bring in and create that community, but there's also the education side, right? And I think a lot of that's great in person. So doing something every month around a topic of how do I manage my water so I have a better water bill, or how do I volunteer for Harvest Days, and having them come in and talk to us, not as a city council meeting or something official, but more of just for them to come and have that discussion to encourage them to start thinking that way, and then they can go out and be influencers for us and talk about all the good stuff, right? Because it can't just be the city council, it can't just be Lara, who's our communications director, it really has to be our neighbors who help us communicate the good stuff that's going on. So, thank you.
Thank you. Jamie Steverson.
So everyone talks about social media like it's this cure-all, but like it has been referenced, it cannot be the only thing. I look around here again today, and I'm willing to bet that every single one of you in here will see so many different things based on your algorithm. That's just not something that we can fix here without pouring tons of money, which we don't have, into advertising to making sure that our residents see it. Instead, we need to focus more on community outreach. I remember being young, and there's always a billboard up that showed all the current events that was coming up. When you knew when it was actually Pleasant Grove, and our days were called Strawberry Days, you knew when Strawberry Days was coming up because there was billboards showing you. Now, I've seen some street signs before talking about Harvest Days, but we don't have much other way to communicate with people, to the people who aren't on social media, to the people who don't really have the community connections, and that's what we need to focus on. We need to focus on the blatantly obvious ways to show the people what's going on in the city, and then the word will get out. Like Denise said, we can have the influencers, we can have people that reach out to the other people. Additionally, we can work with the groups that we have. We can work with the schools, we can work with the community groups, and let the leaders in those places know what's going on so that they can also help us spread the message to their members and thus easily reach a lot more people. Thank you.
Thank you. Brandy Boyer.
We need to get more creative because, yeah, social media, that's where I get a lot of my info from. But I order a lot of DoorDash. Sorry, I do. But somebody attached, one of the restaurants I got attached a flyer of an event that they were even hosting on my bag. And so we can connect with our local businesses to advertise. We can connect with them to get that word out, to share that information. Maybe put flyers in the kids' backpacks when they go home to their parents. We can find creative ways to get it out, and maybe even employ the students as volunteers to be our social media experts, create fun videos, and get more engagement that way. But also, the senior center right next door, making an effort to go over there as, your grandparents or anything like mine don't really get on technology very much. And so reaching out to them to share the words of events that are coming up, but having somebody go over there and communicate that with them. But we can do a lot more just getting our businesses, local businesses, involved in helping spread the word of upcoming events and community, maybe even announcing it on community council.
Thank you. David Fair.
It's very difficult to get the word out. I struggle with it every day. I mean, social media is a great thing. Putting information in the bill is just an absolute fantastic idea because it impacts so many people. The Midvale Journal, a lot of the older people, including myself, still pick that up and read it through there. One thing that I was kind of struck by as I've gone out and canvassed is how many people have no soliciting signs up in the city. And I kind of find that as a kind of an indicator on how many people really want to know about the city. And it's kind of difficult at times, you know, you want to be able to tell people and have them go through. We have an electronic sign on Center Street, you know, that's a good way to get the word out. But as we continue to go through this, the best way we're going to do any of these is to get people excited about these events. I mean, Harvest Day is there, and I think it really and truly did a great thing this year that it came through and had a lot of good activities. We're starting to see those youth markets in the Harvest Days, which are definitely helping out. And as we continue to go through those things and trying to bring more activities, we need to find things that people can get excited about. I'd like to say free pizza, but I don't know if that'll ever happen. But it is kind of one of those things that we have to find a better way to share with our neighbors what it is that's going on and why it's exciting for us.
Thank you. Dustin Gettle.
Thank you. I want to say real quick, a lot of the events that we've had, especially on Main Street, attendance is actually up at those events. So I do want to just put that out there. One of those events, very near and dear to my heart, was the Christmas tree lighting ceremony. And I saw a picture from the Midvale Museum that was from the 1950s of this Christmas tree above the old City Hall. And I said, we ought to recreate that photo every single year and have a holiday market. And so we've done that. And the first year, people were like, what the heck is this? And people were just kind of wandering around Main Street. The second year, more people. Last year, the street was crowded with people. So I do want to just note that our events have been successful and year over year have had more participation to them. I'm not doing any TikTok dances as mayor, so we're not doing that to get new people involved yet, unless the council directs me to do so. But also this idea of the utility billing, I think that's great. That is a great way to reach folks in Midvale. 50% of folks who get a utility bill. There are 50% of people or more in some districts who rent, who don't get a utility bill. Those are the folks that we need to find a better way to market to and get the participation there. And the community council is a great way to do that. We have people out in the community who can hit these larger apartment complexes and rental units to get them involved.
Thank you. We have time for one last question, and I loved this question so much from a Midvale resident who asks, what is your favorite part of Midvale and you cannot say Main Street? Okay. So we're going to start with Reiner Lilbach.
Well, thank you. So my favorite part, since I'm living on a border, District 4, I'm an avid runner. Not only in a political sense, but also in a physical sense. So Jordan River Trail, that's my go-to place. It's so serene and so peaceful there, and I enjoy it. So that's why, partly kind of where I decided to live close by there. So I'm all about sports. So I don't know if I answered the question, but
I don't think there's a wrong answer on this one. Thank you.
Do you want me to go a second place? I still got time.
If you want to use the time that's yours, you don't have to, though.
Library. I like Vine Tyler Library very much. So, and I'm excited to get our new library, a bigger library, a more state-of-the-art library. So, and it's coming, I hear, and I will support it.
Right. Thank you. Denise Mikulash.
Even though you can't say Main Street, it is Main Street. I'm just going to say that. So much good stuff happening there. I also am very fortunate in our district that we have the trail that I, like Dustin, are out there once or twice a week. And then the parks that parallel that, which is the new one up by Zion Corp and the one down by Bingham Junction. Really the parks are probably the favorite part, and I don't want to make the east side jealous, but the west side is great because of that. So I hope we can get more of those parks up on the east side. Thank you.
Jamie Steverson.
I mean, I hate to be an echo, but the Jordan River Parkway is by far the most beautiful part, not just in Midvale, but of the entire valley. I mean, when you're going down there and you see the ducks in the lake or in the river, and when you see the deer that are, you know, off to the side, it brings nature so close to home. It reminds us that, you know, we're not just this big city, that we're part of a bigger world, that we're part of something special here. And I love that Midvale has taken charge in protecting those spaces and in expanding those spaces. The parks, like Denise said, are just, they're wonderful here. There's a lot of room for improvement in a lot of the parks, but that's something that has been a priority. And it's just, it warms my heart to know that the city really cares about its open spaces. But more than just that, my favorite thing about Midvale is you guys. I mean, as an obvious trans person, I have been very hesitant about getting out and knocking on doors, worried about the response that I would get. But every single person has been so incredibly lovely and so incredibly open and willing to have these deep conversations that just, it means so much to me that Midvale is nothing without all of you guys. So thank you guys so much.
Brandy Boyer.
It's probably going to sound like all I do is talk about food. Obviously, I'm hungry, but my favorite part is our restaurants. As somebody that eats out literally probably twice a day, I love our restaurants. The amount of diverse restaurants that we have is incredible. And it's such a great place to just hang out with members of our community. The coffee shops, the pastry shops that I go to, just being able to talk and meet new people every time I go out to eat. So yeah, I love the restaurants and the food. It's my favorite part.
David Fair.
I too love all the restaurants in Midvale. I've tried most of them at least once. I miss a couple of things that some of them have done away with. But I also wrote down the park. I back up right to the park. My house goes in there, and I reflect on how the park has developed over the years. It's a great thing. And I miss the softball field that's over there, but I think the football fields have definitely helped out, and also all the different kids things that are in there, all the swings and the jungle gyms and everything else that's in there. It's great. Love the schools in Midvale. It's kind of a tough thing. A lot of people think of the schools in Midvale and had struggles. My kids have all gone to school here. I'm not local to this area, but my kids have all been local. And I've really received a lot of benefits from my kids going to a local school, including one of my children that went through the immersion program, and it was a great thing to have there. But I have to say, we have everything in Midvale. I love Winco. I love every place I can shop. But much more, I commute every day. I come down from Salt Lake City, and if you've never driven in traffic at 5 o'clock every day, you will find out how easy it is to drive to Midvale. And I love that. I'm usually off the freeway faster than anybody else, and it really makes me happy to do that. And everybody in Midvale is great. I love the people here, and it's certainly a great place to be.
Dustin Gettle.
Thank you. So part of my job as an elected official, I serve on the Jordan River Commission. So of these improvements that we're talking about, I have been in the room where it happened, and that's been very important to me. So that would be my answer, but since everyone else has already said that, get there in May to watch the pelicans. If you've never seen the pelicans in the Jordan River, it is an incredible sight, especially when they fly in and land. It's amazing. Also, YouTube The Anatomy of Pelicans. They're very interesting. My favorite place to go, all the restaurants, yes, Bohemian, love Bohemian, Chabar Thai is amazing. But a really cool place that is off of Main Street is Two Row Brewing, and I don't know how many people have been there. Good food, good drinks if you drink, but they have a lot of community nights there where they do games, like game night, and they asked me to call bingo there, and I was absolutely thrilled to do it. And I went there, and I expected, maybe there'd be 5 or 10 people. That place was packed. And I said, these people are not all here because of me. And they were like, no, this is normally what we get for that sort of event. So I love Two Row Brewing. I can't recommend it enough. I feel like I'm on their payroll at this point, but go look at their website. There's definitely an event there for you that you'll be interested, I promise.
Brian Brown.
Yeah, I have two. The first is, sounds like it's cheating, but it's real, and it's District 4. My in-laws, before you laugh, my in-laws, they grew up in District 4 and still live in District 4. My wife grew up in District 4, and she still lives in District 4. It's a village that raises amazing people, and they're helping me raise my kids, and it's the greatest place in the world. Midvale is the greatest place in the world. District 4 is just a little bit better. No offense to the rest of Midvale. And, you know, to me, this is a debt I'm trying to repay for how great of a place this is. I love it, and I love the people. 1B is the birria tacos at Del Barrio.
Yes. Everybody give a round of applause to our candidates. And thank you all for coming out. Make sure you're registered to vote.